Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today I'm going to be reviewing the SKX bronze, SKX007 bronze homage by Heimdallr. Before I go any further, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already. Join the channel. It may not be the biggest, however, I do have great content, and further to that, I do have a great comment section and with a well-informed subscriber base. So it's always good, communicate amongst yourselves. There's a lot of information that gets shared on the comment section. I thoroughly enjoy it for one. So join in the chat, make yourself part of the channel, and enjoy the videos that will be coming up. And let's get started with the review. There was one, and now there's two. Heimdallr have recently changed the packaging. I have complained about the packaging in the past. Obviously it's about the watch. However, if you want to be recognized as a brand, you want to be a brand, everyone does appreciate a semi-decent box. There we have the watches. As you can see, I have gone for about two in the two color options. There is a third, which is with a black dial. We'll go into further details later on through the video. As you can see straight away, they have gone for a new box. I still don't like it. The watches don't fit right. So it's a case of trying to make it one for all, but it's not really working. Let's have a look at the watches out of the boxes. There we have the two SKX007s homages in the bronze by Heimdallr. As you can see, I've got the ones with the leather strap, with the gold buckles, and as mentioned, I ordered two different colors. I ordered the sunray green and the sunray blue. Before we go into the details and the specifications, I would like to cover the dimensions. So the diameter is 42 millimeters across without the crown. You've got a 45 millimeters lug to lug and a 13.2 mil thickness. So already this is very close, if not the same specifications as the Seiko SKX007. Now we all know the Seiko SKX is a awesomely popular watch, so it is a no-brainer that Heimdallr would homage this watch. This SKX case or the base of that model is it's got, in the modding community, there's literally loads and loads and loads of mods. Now, interestingly enough, one of the subscribers did comment that this whole movement with the Chinese homages, it started due to the modding community, basically. Now, as you can imagine, there was a demand for modifications for SKX, the SKX007s. So if you've got factories mass producing bezels, chapter rings, dials, hands, sapphire crystals, etc., even cases, so it's only going to be a matter of time before somebody gets that light bulb moment and starts making those watches, but rather than them being replicas, they make their own brand out of it. And this does have its own movement on the homage side. Some people don't understand them, but like most reviews, we're big fans. I know I love them. So I have covered the SKX homage by Heimdallr. I've covered two different versions. So I've covered the first one that came out with the stainless steel, which did have a green sunburst dial with the black ceramic bezel. I've also covered the Marinemaster version, which has a Marinemaster dial, and then I have ordered the new SKX homage by Heimdallr with the monster dial, so stay tuned for that. That should be arriving any day now. So I had my eye on these bronze ones for a while now, so just been busy with everything, and now finally have them here, and I can't wait to do a deep dive on these pieces. So I want to start off with the green dial. Specifications, they have a flat AR coated sapphire crystal with a slight chamfered edge. As you can see, that slight refraction around here. The bezel insert is a ceramic, and the movement, it is a NH36 because we have the day and date function. We've also got, as you can see, a bronze CUSN8 case. Now this is the aluminium and copper mixture, so you have a brighter colored bronze, and the patina is slightly more gradual on this case, and it isn't as how can I say, I don't want to say bad, but the bronze cases with the tin additive, they patina a lot more and a lot quicker, so the oxidization on that is a lot more progressive. Now I want to start off with the dial. Now Heimdallr do have one of the best dials out there. You know, really fantastic dials. They've got awesome quality, and the Lume is simply amazing. I've recently just started modding and using dials, and I've got to say the stuff that's out there isn't all that good, except you know, the Heimdallr, San Martin, Proxima, etc. Steel dive is okay for the most part. There are a couple which the Lume isn't there, but you know, the dial quality, because I've took a couple of these apart, it is really that good. So we focus on the dial, you'll see a green sunray dial with the SKX style indices. And you'll see something different from the one that was on the silver stainless steel case. The shark on this is actually golden. Let's try and get a bit closer. You know, no rough edges, perfectly clear, really well made dial. At the number 3, you can see the date window because it runs a NH36 movement, and you've got the original turtle or SKX handset, hour, minute, and the seconds hand with the Lume on the end. At the bottom of the dial, automatic divers through 100 meters, which is facilitated by the screw down crown. And if you look at the chapter ring, you've got a dark green chapter ring. So it's not the same green as the dial, or because it's a different material, it does look darker. So which does give it a slight contrast. Heimdallr do have, there's another version of the SKX which they do, I think, the really bright colors. So they do the green, the yellow, the orange, and black. Now with that, the chapter ring matches the dial. For me, it just doesn't look right, and it needs something to break it up. There's too much of the same color, especially those, you know, bright colors. So I do like this where there's a slight contrast between the chapter ring and the dial, which does break it up slightly. Moving on to the bezel, you've got the SKX style bezel that we're used to. They've used a ceramic bezel insert with the gold markers. Now this is probably one of the rare occasions where I would have preferred if they used an aluminium bezel with the gilt golden markers, because this in the bronze, you know, it does look slightly vintage, and because you want to get that patina on the case anyway, I think that bezel insert adds to that vintage, slightly worn look. Because this ceramic bezel is quite shiny. The bezel action, there is a loud, very audible click, but it's stiff. What I mean by stiff, that there's no backplay, or at least very minimal backplay. And can we go to line up? Thereabouts. Talking about alignment, now with these SKX homages, well, not even the homages, let's address Seiko. Seiko dials are not very well aligned. The stories are numerous with their misalignments, and there's a running joke that is a counterfeit measure. You know, the chapter rings don't have the best alignment. Also, the bezel action is not exactly the same on every single Seiko. I've complained about this numerous times across the Seiko, the originals series. Now, so bear in mind, if you do see this particular model and the bezel sounds like this, you know, it's quite good, etc., and the dial looks like this, don't assume that the next model will be exactly the same. There is a slight and inherent, inconsistency across a few different pieces, so it's not going to be exactly the same as the one that you see here. You know, to me, this looks perfectly fine. I mean, if the original watches have slight discrepancies, you can surely expect that from, you know, a watch that's trying to homage it or copage it in this case. But I think everything looks okay. There's nothing that's glaring, that stands out, that's gonna make you want to question it. Moving on to the case, you do have similar finishing to the original SKX. So along the lugs, you've got this circular brushing pattern. So you can see here, which goes to the tip of the lugs. So on the side profile of the watch, you do have a polished surface. I think there's a fair bit of glare. Let me try to get a clear picture. Yeah. Now you can already see some of the patina starting to form. The patina really is just oxidization. It's more contact that the watch has with the air. It can be reset, so you can use lemon juice, vinegar. There's a bunch of information out there on the internet, or I've read a couple of the subs say that linseed oil is a great way to, you know, make sure the patina develops gradually and evenly, and the more you apply, the longer it will take to develop. So that's some good bit of advice there. So let's move along the crown guards. You've got this polished side here where the guards turn in. There was a issue on the original SKX homage by Heimdallr where the crown guard stuck out a fair bit, to the point when you were unscrewing the crown, they would be digging into your fingers. This is not so bad. So I think they did amend the issue straight away, more or less, because I think the next, when I got the Marinemaster homage SKX, that issue was corrected. There was another issue where the Lume pip on the silver SKX was quite sharp and it was quite prominent. So if we just go back to the bezel, you can see it is a lot thinner and not so prominent. Everyone does prefer the pips that are set into the actual bezel insert, or just a Lume pip, or just have a fully illuminated bezel insert. You can hear the winding of the NH36. One pop, you can change the date. Now this has, you can see the kanji date wheel, so it's quite a sought after feature. On the originals, it just means that the watch has been made in Japan. So turn it the other way and you've got your date setting. Second pop, then now you can see the seconds hand has stopped. So that is what is known as hacking. And then you feel free to set your time. Push the crown in, screw it back down. There's no threading issue. The crown is again quite like the SKX. Let's put it in. Like I said, no threading issue. Threads are pretty smooth. Turn it around on the case back. You've got the Heimdallr logo in the center, and you've got a motivational quote on the back: to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Custom made. Fair enough. Personally, I just like the standard stuff that you see here. So I don't know, sapphire, automatic, Japan, 200 meters, whatever. I prefer to see specs. That's only because that's what I'm used to. Some people do find this refreshing. It's something different. However, I am not one of those people. So the case back, polished surface, the crown sits in nice. As mentioned, this watch does come on a a rubber dive strap. The other option is a leather. I would say, I'm not a fan of these type of straps myself. I would say go for the leather. Leather on bronze does look really nice. Obviously you can't get a bronze steel strap. You can probably get a, I don't know, copper coated one or a plated strap. I'd personally stay away from them. The plating is going to come off, you know. Just go with a leather strap to give it that awesome vintage look. On the buckle, we've got Heimdallr engraved or stamped. Decent buckle. This is a strong strap, don't remember, it's quite thick, you can see. And these also come with the push-in spring pins. However, they're not the total cheap thin ones, because you get 1.2 mil thick, and then you get the next step up, which is 1.6, and then you get your 2.5 mil fat boy spring bars. These are not the fat boys, but these are, I think, the 1.6 or 1.8 mil thick. They're a lot better than the normal skinny ones, which they're quite weak and they are quite poor. But yeah, it's soft enough. It's not as hard as the original SKX dive strap, which is absolutely awful. So, you know, handling the case, giving it a good touch, good feel. There's nothing that stands out in terms of sharpness. The inside of the lugs are sharp, but I think that's across a lot of watches out there, because usually, obviously, it's only the strap that fits there. So these have improved, because like I said, I know the original was a lot worse. You couldn't avoid that. That would definitely dig into your fingers, and you could feel that regarding the crown guards. Okay, let's move on to the blue dial. So here we have the second color available. Just get a good shot here. Now, as you can see, this is with a deep blue sunray dial. I think the dial is absolutely gorgeous. It's not too bright, but it's bright enough where you can see that sunray effect. Similar features as the green. You've got the shark logo at the 12 o'clock, which has that golden shark. You've got your SKX style indices. You've got your date wheel at the bottom, automatic, divers, 200 meters in red. I like the red they've used. And same ceramic bezel insert. So everything is the same, just the color. So let's have a look at this bezel here. Still a tight bezel action. However, there's it's nothing substantial anyway, or anything significant. There's just a very, very minor little play that you can feel. However, it lines up with the chapter ring. Talking about the chapter ring, this is a brushed silver chapter ring. I can't really make out if it is aluminium or plastic. However, it is very clearly printed. On the chamfer edge, on the sapphire crystal, just enables you to see that outline there, that refraction from those dial indices. It's a pretty cool effect. Case is exactly the same. The Lume pip exactly the same. Now, I don't know if you can tell, this is something I have noticed. The dial is not as aligned as it was on the green one. You can tell by just the bottom indice, which is just ever so slightly off center. I don't think it's that clear. Maybe it is on camera. And you can just look at the 3, 6, and 9. Even the date window, the dial is just slightly. Now this is what I mean. I mean, for those that expect it to be perfectly lined up and perfect, those expectations are too high. You know, you find that on top end watches. And with these Heimdallr, Steel Dive, San Martin, you know, the rest, they're not manufacturers, they are assembly plants, with the exception of San Martin, where Logyu, they are the factory that produce the parts, and San Martin is the brand they're pushing out. However, Heimdallr don't manufacture. Heimdallr assemble. You know, they might design or put the case forward, get it made by companies like Logyu or the other companies that are out there, the factories that produce the cases, dials, etc. However, they are an assembly plant. So with Steel Dive, so they get all the parts in-house. You've got operators sitting on benches assembling these parts and watches. So you might find slight misalignment as mentioned. So I just want to see something here. I want to see if the hands line up perfectly. 12 o'clock, yeah. Because, you know, when I have changed hands, I have this issue sometimes where I can't get them to line up. So you can see here, 12, the hour hand, sorry, the minute hand is at 12, and you can see the hour hand is just off center. Now I'm trying to look at this off camera to see. So I think the hands might be okay, but there's a slight misalignment with either the dial or the chapter ring. For me, it isn't a deal breaker. You know, you're not really gonna see that unless you happen to look when it's on the dot 6 p.m. But for me personally, it is not. Like I said, I'm used to seeing you know, a lot worse on the Seikos. I mean, one thing quite shocking was the mini turtle. I hadn't noticed till I saw a Facebook post where those indices are really out of line. You know, you can see that from a mile off. However, no, there's no recalls on them. It's not really an issue like that. I mean, people always say, look at the cost. You know, these are, even though they're 400, 350, whatever, brand new, they still come under budget or entry level dive watches. You've got to remember that. But I don't want to sound like, you know, we should accept it. Yet, you know, we can't do anything about it. We shouldn't accept it. Definitely Seiko should improve, but you know, it is what it is. So between the two, case, bezel, action, crown, pretty same, pretty similar. So a decent bezel action. Now, you know, I've got to get it back to, I've missed it again. See, the OCD won't let me leave it. I have to put it back on the tick, tick, tick. If I haven't mentioned it, yeah, it's 120 click. Bezel, again with the same rubber strap. They do a black dial option. Now the pictures aren't very clear. I don't know if the dial is a matte black or because I know they do a really lovely satin or black sunray dial, which you can see on my Heimdallr 6309 turtle video. But the chapter ring on that is black with the gilt or gold indices on the chapter ring. That looks really good as well. But I just went for the dark blue and the green, and everything is exactly the same. Lume shot. So I've bought these at a different part of the room. I make these videos in my loft, so I've got a skylight window, so it's quite difficult to get a great lume shot unless it's pitch black. Now this is just purely from the daylight coming through the window. As I've stated, the lume is extremely good on these dials. You can see the lume pip at 12 o'clock on the bezel insert, and you've got the hands indices on the actual dial, the seconds hand. Now you can also see a great way or a good indicator of how good the lume is. You can see how even it is. There's no patchiness visible. It's been evenly applied and very, very strong lume. In fact, I think one of the watches that I've seen that do have crazy strong lume is the 62 MAS, the 62 mass homage from Heimdallr, and honestly on pictures it just looks fake. That's how great it is. Now this hasn't been blasted with a UV, so let's just give it a UV blast and then you'll see these things light up like lighthouses. Just have a look at that. Fully charged, so bright that it's, you know, making the camera glare. Lume shot over. Let's go ahead and do a wrist shot. So I'm currently wearing my Save the Ocean turtle, which I have modded. I've featured it on a video on this channel. I absolutely love this beast. Now that was a lot more effort than I actually would have liked. Okay, you can just see my hands. Let's readjust. So there you have it, a double barrel wrist shot. Okay, major concern is not so much the strap, so probably my wrist. 6.5 inch on the wrist. However, with this strap supplied, I'm using the very last hole, and it makes me feel like I've got childish wrists. In fact, funny story, I sold a watch on eBay. It was a Seiko and it was sized to my wrist. The chap come back complaining, saying, listen mate, I know you said, the chap come back saying, yeah, I know you said the wrist size was small, but it looks like it's been sized for a child. I tried not to get offended, so whatever mate. But yeah, the strap is quite long. It is quite thick as well, so it's a bit of a challenge putting it through the holders there. The thing with bronze cases, because you can't get the bronze bracelet, it is slightly tricky getting the correct strap. Personally, I've found leather straps work the best, or waffle strap is another option. Heimdallr do a great waffle strap, which is closest to the original Seiko. It's got a slightly thicker end, but this is what you see is what you get. Now to briefly summarize my overall thoughts, I have been impressed since the first SKX homage. They are really similar to the standard SKX. I know the questions that are going to be popping up is how moddable is it? As far as I'm aware, I think the first one, it wasn't so compatible. I mean, the dial, you can change the dials, 28.5 mil. Hands is not an issue. I think it came around to like chapter ring. That's it, I think. Maybe the bezel, I know the bezel insert should be fine because they use the standard sizes. Crowns, I'm not too sure because I haven't modded them too well. I know the second version, which is I believe this version with the slightly smaller crown guards, that it was compatible, and I think Heimdallr do sell these on their website saying they are SKX pods compatible, which brings me on to my second point. So I think this one is up for sale. We'll put that away, but I am going to actually mod this one. So I'm going to see if I can find that aluminium and gilt bezel insert, because I would like to see how that looks. I have a SKX007, or is it a 009 original? Hang on a second, dial with me. So let's get the dial out. Yeah, so I think it's the SKX009 because it is it does have a ever so slight blue hue to it, but it looks black on camera. I realized that. Yeah, it's a genuine dial, so I want to try that. Chapter ring, I've got a SKX007 black chapter ring. I might stay with the silver or go with black, see how it looks. So I will mod this, and this will be up for sale after I mod it. Things to change, I don't think there's a lot, to be honest, they can change. You know, let me know in the comment section what you guys feel should be different. However, I think it's, you know, great the way they've done it. In just the lateral bezel insert, that's my personal preference, how I think it might look a bit better. But as a you know, the retailers, they want to put, you know, top spec everything, don't they, and send it out. So I think there's not much they can change for me. Anyway, if there's something that you guys think, just put in the comments. Okay, we are done for this review. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with another review. Thank you.